Is it me, or has the wait for Changli's release been long as hell? It feels like it's been 20 years since we get a new character in Wuthering Waves. But Changli is finally here, and I'm going to show you how to maximize her damage for the best Changli possible. In this video, I'm going to cover her kit, her best rotations, her best builds for DPS and support, her weapons, teams, and sequences. So if you enjoy this type of content, let me know by liking the video, leaving a comment in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the channel. We're 500 away from hitting 10K. I would greatly appreciate your support. Cut the yapping. Let's get right into the video. Changli's kit revolves around his special state called True Sight, which is indicated by this mark right here, as well as her glowing hair. While in True Sight, she has access to special moves that help her gain forte stacks called Inflamement, which are the key to unleashing her max damage. There are a few ways of entering True Sight. Using your basic attack 4 while on the air or ground will put you in True Sight, as well as using your skill True Sight Capture, which has 2 uses that refresh every 12 seconds. The special moves Changli gets access to are called True Sight Conquest and True Sight Charge. True Sight Conquest is performed by using a basic attack on the ground while in True Sight state, and True Sight Charge can be performed by using a basic attack while Changli is on the air during True Sight state. When you perform either of these attacks, you will generate a stack of Inflamement, and once you have 4 stacks, you can perform a heavy attack by holding your basic attack button to perform the big smash called Flaming Sacrifice, which is one of her most damaging moves. Changli can also generate 4 stacks of Inflamement directly by performing her Resonance Liberation, Radiance of Fealty, which deals a huge chunk of damage as well. Obviously, you want to avoid using your Resonance Liberation when you already have Inflamement stacks built up, because you don't want to waste any Inflamement stacks. Essentially, her DPS loop is centered around gaining 4 stacks of Inflamement to unleash your Flaming Sacrifice, dealing massive damage, then immediately using your Resonance Liberation to deal even more damage while generating an extra 4 forte stacks, and then finally releasing your last or second Flaming Sacrifice to deal another instance of big PP damage. Sounds pretty simple, right? Her DPS potential is quite substantial, to the likes of Jion's damage potential as well, but her usefulness does not stop there, because she also has some very impressive supportive capabilities via her outro skill. Her outro skill allows her to serve as a support to another DPS character you may be having on the team by giving the uncommon Resonator a 20% fusion damage amplification and a 25% Resonance Liberation damage amplification. Keep in mind that amplification damage bonuses are separate and multiplicative to other damage bonuses, and therefore are more impactful to the overall damage than per se the Heron buff or the Bell Echo buff that we get from those echoes. This makes her a fantastic partner for a lot of DPS units like Encore and Chicha, which will take advantage of both her amplification damage bonuses and characters that rely on their Resonance Liberation damage like Havoc Rover. Needless to say, Changli is a very strong character with a lot of longevity, because she will end up being the best in slot support for any future fusion DPS characters that may release. As far as her talent priority, I recommend leveling up her Forte Circuit first, followed by the Resonance Liberation, then activating her passive skills, which unlock 20% fusion damage bonus for the first passive, and then an extra 20% fusion damage bonus and 15% defense ignore for the second passive, quickly following that up by her skill, then her basic, and then finally her intro skill. Now that we already talked about her kit, let's talk about her DPS rotation. A DPS rotation for Changli takes a little bit of time to pull off, but thankfully we have a few shortcuts that we can take advantage of to make it do it a little bit quicker. Assuming you're passing on a buff to Changli via outro skill like Verena or Chao-Chi, Changli's rotation starts off with her intro skill. This move has a great shortcut for us, because after the intro skill, using your basic attack will launch True Sight Charge, gaining us our first stack. Now, because we launch True Sight Charge, once we get back on the ground, we can pick up from basic attack 3, perform basic attack 4, which means that 2 more basic attacks will put us back into True Sight, in which we can launch our True Sight Conquest for our second stack. We already have 2 stacks, we haven't even touched our skills yet. From here, we can now use the skill True Sight Capture to access our True Sight Conquest for our third stack, and we repeat this twice to get our 4th and final stack, unleashing our first Flaming Sacrifice. Now, this is a good stopping point to talk about energy requirements, because Changli does have some energy requirements that I have to mention and I have to discuss with you guys. With no extra energy regen added after performing her rotation up to this point, we end up with about 78 energy out of the 125 energy required to launch our ultimate. This means that we're missing about 37.5 of the energy required to have the ultimate available up to this point in the combo. There are a few ways you can circumvent this. The first one is by just giving her more than 37.5 energy regen, or getting energy via your teammates. Number one is very self-explanatory, just put energy regen on the character, but the second one, not so much. You see, when resonators are off field, they regenerate energy equal to 30% of the energy gained by the on-field character, not counting for the energy regen of the on-field character. All this mumbo jumbo to say that if you regenerate energy with Changli's teammates before swapping into Changli, she will start off at a higher point. She will have more energy already in the starting point, which means that getting her ultimate will be a lot easier. Now that the energy talk is out of the way, we can continue with our rotation, which goes into the ultimate, which gives us an extra 4 stacks of enflammement after dealing some massive damage, and we can end our rotation with our last flaming sacrifice. I know it seems very, very complex, but it's actually very intuitive when you actually do it in game. Once you get used to it, you will be able to just do it like pretty much second nature. We got Changli's rotations out of the way. Let's talk about her build. Changli primarily has 2 ways of being built. The first one is DPS, which is the most obvious one. This is the one that most people are going to have. And the second one is building her as a support. To build a DPS Changli is very simple. According to my calculations, if you are running the 5-piece fusion set, you want to aim for a 4-3-3-1-1 build with a fusion damage 3 cost and an attack percent 3 cost. Running 2 fusion damage 3 cost is slightly worse since Changli gives herself so much damage bonuses in her kit, but the difference isn't that big, so honestly it doesn't matter too much. Just go with the one that has the better substats. I did however find that running a 4-4-1-1-1 build with 2-piece fusion, 2-piece lingering tunes is actually her best overall set, but only by about 5%. If we end up getting another 4 cost fusion echo, then that's probably going to end up being her best in slot by about 15%. As far as substats go, you obviously want to go for crit rate, crit damage, then for skill damage, resonance liberation, attack percent, and energy regen. Remember, the energy regen is actually very important for Changli. If you can, try to get about 37.5 or 38% energy regen. Now, the support build, very simple, same exact stat distribution, but swap the set for the Moonlit set. Same thing. You want her running the 4 cost Heron, and then that's it. Now, whilst we are on the topic of builds, let's go ahead and segue to weapons. Obviously, your signature weapon will yield the most damage overall, giving her about 48.6 crit damage, 12% attack, and building up to 56% scale damage bonus, which is a very, very hefty buff, if I do say so myself. Her next best option, and personally the one that I'm going to be using on Changli, is the Emerald of Genesis, which is a weapon that everybody should have. It provides a great amount of crit rate at 24%, 12% attack, and a much needed 12.8% energy regen. This weapon is perfect for Changli to the point that I don't feel the need to go for a signature weapon myself, because I can just throw the Emerald of Genesis on her and have a very comfortable build, very easy to build as well. I don't have to spend my jades for it, you know. As far as 4-star weapons, a decent option, and this is probably for her support build, best one for her support build actually, is going to be the Overture, which grants her energy regen and helps with Concerto energy for the outro skill. Aside from that, the Commando of Conviction gives her some attack, but nothing too crazy. So if you're a free-to-play player, just throw Emerald of Genesis on her. You should have that sword. It's the best weapon to grab from the level 45 box. So just do that, grab it, put it on her, that's it. Okay, your Changli is built, ready to go. Now we got to throw her on a team. Because of her versatility and utility, Changli can be slotted into a number of teams, but I'll just give you my personal favorites, which are the Hyper Carry Changli team, which is Changli, Tauchi, and Verena. Pretty self-explanatory. They both buff Changli's damage, and she's going to end up dealing a bunch of damage with this particular build. Obviously, you have to maximize or optimize Tauchi to make that a thing, but if you have that down, your Changli is going to slap. The second team is going to be a fusion duo DPS with either Encore or Chisha. Then obviously Changli and Verena. Verena is never resting. She doesn't take any breaks. She is the worker for everybody. Pretty self-explanatory. You use Changli for her damage potential, and then you outro into either Shisha or Encore for a continuous stream of damage. You have Changli doing a lot of damage. You have Shisha and Encore buffed all the way up and dealing a bunch of damage as well. These are probably going to be the top fusion teams, and I can say that pretty much blindly. And then the third one is pretty much going to be the one that I'm going to be trying the most. Is going to be Changli, Yinlin, and Verena. The idea behind this team is that Yinlin and Changli both buff Resonance Liberation, and they both give 25% Resonance Liberation amplification to each other. Obviously, they don't take advantage of their elemental amplification, but that's besides the point. We can just pretty much swap between Changli and Yinlin, and then once Verena's buff is up, we can go back to Verena, re-up the buff, and then just keep swapping between Changli and Yinlin, and they're both Resonance Liberations are going to be boosted out of this world. I'm actually very excited to try this team out. I love Yinlin. I wasn't initially going to go for Changli, but you know, it is what it is. I'm just going to pull. Lastly, for my whales or my Changli chads, let's go over her sequences. Her first sequence is going to make it to where her skills and her flaming sacrifice damage is increased by 10%, and it makes her immune to being interrupted while performing these attacks. The second one, while she has Inflamement, she increases Changli's crit rate by 25% for 8 seconds. Sequence 3, Resonance Liberation, Radiance of Fealty, damage increased by 80%. This is just straight out buff to her to her nuke ultimate. Sequence 4 allows her to double down on her supportive capabilities, increasing the team's attack by 20% for 30 seconds when her intro is cast. That's crazy. Sequence number 5 is going to increase Flaming Sacrifice multiplier and damage bonus by 50%. So that's really strong. And then the final sequence essentially is going to just give her a 40% extra defense ignore to her most damaging moves, making her pretty much a nuclear bomb. Overall, Changli is an insanely strong character that has an immense potential as more fusion characters release. She will be a staple for fusion teams in the foreseeable future, so investing in your Changli will probably never be in vain. That's going to be the end of my video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my guide. This is my very first Wuthering Waves guide for a character. Let me know in the comment section what I can improve on, what can I change. Let me know in the comment section below. That's all I got for you guys. Until next time, see ya.